The purpose of this video is to help you with the memorization of certain facts in the unit circle. First of all, to talk about the unit circle, we're talking about a circle that has a radius of 1 unit, hence the name unit circle. What we need to know is we need to know all of the angle measures in both degrees and radians. Right now I'm just doing the radians around the entire circle, and you have to have all of these 16 that are written here memorized. Not only do you have to have all of those angles memorized, but you need to have memorized every single one of the coordinate points for these 16 angles. And so there they are. And that might seem like an awful lot to begin with, but there happens to be a pattern, and that's one of the ways to look at this to ease your memorization. So first of all, we know that we have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. And if you examine this carefully and you look at this angle pi over 3, and you look at the coordinates for it, we've got 1/2, comma, root 3 over 2. And you look as the mirror image of it, so that would be 2 pi over 3, the mirror over the y-axis. It has the same coordinate points, but the signs have changed. Now it's negative 1/2 and positive root 3 over 2. If you take this point and reflect it across the x-axis down here to 4 pi over 3, once again you have the same coordinates, but it's negative 1/2 and negative root 3 over 2. So these have changed to both negatives, the coordinate points here. Take this once again and reflect it once more over the y-axis to 5 pi over 3, and again you have the same coordinates, 1/2 and then the root 3 over 2, but the root 3 over 2 is negative. And so this follows with each, the reflection of the pi over 4s. If you looked at those coordinates, they're the same coordinates, but their signs change. And if you look at the pi over 6s, again, now we have root 3 over 2, comma 1/2. And when you keep reflecting the other pi over 6s to 5 pi over 6, to 7 pi over 6, and to 11 pi over 6, it's the same two coordinates, but the signs keep changing. So really, you only need to memorize these three. Well, and of course the ones that are right on the axes, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. But those ones are typically easier because they're right on the 1 unit mark. So memorize these three, and you can hopefully find a pattern going on here. And then all you have to remember is that in quadrant 1, both of those are positive. In quadrant 2, it's negative and then positive. Quadrant 3, they're both negative. And in quadrant 4, the x is positive and the y is negative. So this is one method of memorizing your coordinates as well as your radians in the unit circle. But there's another method, and that is just memorizing the points on the axes, on the x-axis and the y-axis. You'll notice that you've got 1/2, root 2 over 2, and root 3 over 2. These three numbers are on all of the axes, both the positive x's, the positive y's, the negative x's, and the negative y's. So they're the same 3 points, just depending on where they are on the axis, on the positive side or not. And like it is for any point, when you're looking for a point, you look at the x-coordinate, the y-coordinate, and we can see that that point there has the coordinate root 3 over 2, comma 1/2. On this point over here, we have that we've got the x-coordinate of negative root 2 over 2, and we have positive root 2 over 2. And for this point, we have the x-coordinate of negative 1/2 and the y-coordinate of negative root 3 over 2, and so those are the coordinates for that one. Again, I'm putting the radians around it because you have to have the radians memorized as well as the coordinate points. And then remembering that all of our pi over 6s, 1 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6, have the same coordinates, but the signs change depending on the quadrant. The pi over 4s have the same coordinates, just sign change depending on the quadrant. And the pi over 3s all have the same coordinates, just different signs depending on the quadrant. So these are two methods of trying for you to memorize these radians as well as the coordinate points in your unit circle. Don't forget, you also need to memorize each and every one of the degrees, the 30, 45, 60, 90, etc., going all the way around. You need to know all of your degrees for those 16 points as well.